Hey Facebook friends and Insta buddies. This is the first in a series of one-to-one head-to-head interviews that I'm hoping to present to you with a working title of Spill the Tea. I hesitantly put out feelers to gauge reactions from friends, colleagues and personalities in the PMU, microblading and associated industries, and damn me, but everyone I asked was game. First to reply to my invitation with a resounding, "Of course I will, babe," is the very, very clever Naomi O'Hara of the Clinical Academy in Southampton. And one of the reasons I was so keen to talk to her for you was this. This is Naomi's colour compass. The clever little bugger has only gone and reinvented the colour wheel. She's made it a dedicated tool specifically designed for PMU and microblade techs. Everything you need to point you in the right direction. Skin analysis, colour analysis. Go and take a look. My guest is none other than the lovely Naomi O'Hara. So O'Hara, mother, grandmother, businesswoman, artist, company director, permablend pigment prima donna, colour enthusiast, all-round geek. You own two businesses, Naomi O'Hara Permanent Cosmetics, conducting treatments and procedures. You are a director and co-owner of the Clinical Academy in Southampton, together with Kim Way, where for the last 5 years has seen the Academy running over 80 cosmetic, tattoo and advanced beauty training courses with a growing team of trainers. At one point in your PMU life schedule saw you rotating 26 different clinics around the UK, which you've now trimmed down to about 5 clinics and hospitals across the south of the country, with clinics on a monthly schedule. You have been doing this for no less than 15 years, girl. You must have been knackered. Absolutely. 26.
26, yeah. Some days I think I went to 2 or 3 different clinics in one day. Crazy.
You own and run a charitable business called Areola Angels, which gets medical treatments to people who maybe could not be able to afford them, or would not be able to get access to that kind of support. And I know that many of your students offer to become Areola Angels after training in medical tattooing. That is an incredible thing to do. How did you come up with that?
It basically was something that I think just happened quite holistically, in that I really feel that people shouldn't have to pay for these sorts of treatments, for scar camouflage, for areola treatments. It should be part of your reconstruction to get your life back, really. So I was discussing it, I think, with a group of one of my students, and they said they'd love to gift a couple of hours a month. Everybody, I think, in an ideal world, if they won the lottery, would do everything like that for free. But, you know, people have got mortgages, so they wanted to gift a couple of hours a month. And Areola Angels was born.
That is amazing. I love it. And I love what it's called.
I love what it's called.
That is pretty cool, I have to say.
I do feel it's growing a little bit more than Areola. We do a lot of cleft palates. We do a lot of scar camouflage, self-harm scars. So it's Areola Angels still, but because I love the name. But I do feel this past maybe 18 months, it's grown a little bit more than Areola. So who knows?
Okay, you are quoted as saying that your passion is for playing a part in moving this industry forward and making it better, showing new artists the right way to start their career, and being there still when they're coming up against real challenges in day-to-day working life long after they've left their academy training day. You've written qualifications for both award-winning bodies, universities. You've travelled the world, in fact, doing what you love. You've attended court as an expert witness. You've joined forces with worldwide pigment manufacturer Permablend to create your own range of pigments that will make the working life, in your opinion, of artists much easier and give continued outstanding results in a step-by-step kind of format, which is bloody impressive. Something I think a lot of... I think a lot of, like, certainly I want my own range, right? And you've kind of, a couple of times now, you've picked me to the post Well, well, you have. I have a preferred pigment range, which in fact you helped me with. You helped me set up my preferred permablend pigment range called Pigment Prescription. And it's kind of like, when I got your range, your tones of permablend range you very kindly sent to me, I was like, shit. I'm gonna go through all this again. And it was just before lockdown, darling. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do.
And I hadn't worked my way through all the colours, because now I have to go back and redo my prescription, because I'm looking at these colours, and you know my favourite browns are all orange browns. And I'm looking through these colours thinking, oh, there's so many to choose from. So we have to schedule a date after lockdown to go and do that whole thing again, so that I can introduce some of the in tones of permablend back into my prescription. Yeah. I have it on very good authority. The word moral springs to mind, that as a professional person, you're told daily that you are never satisfied, you're never content, and you have said, in fact, yourself many times, that you're not the sort of person to say, I'm done. You know, you keep going and going and going until you feel there is no more to do. Okay. I have to hold my hands up here just for the people watching to say that we are mates. We've known each other, I think 2 years now. We've worked together, but we've also created stuff together. We put our heads together when it comes to some technical stuff to do with the industry. I've been down to the clinic, amazing clinic in Southampton. I've done a couple of courses down there. Your passion is not only peer review, but it's also paramedical or medical. You told me that your perfectionism, if you like, didn't really kick in until after you'd done your PMU training and medical tattoo training.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessary that I'm a perfectionist. I just think I'm never satisfied. It's almost like, achieve that next. It's not, I don't even think I'm a perfectionist. I wish I was a perfectionist, because I think I would complete something.
I would wholeheartedly disagree with you. Right there. Absolutely. I actually think you're fixated and obsessed.
Okay. Thank you.
In a very good way.
Thank you. It has been said all my life, it's been, you're never satisfied. And I used to take it as a bit of a negative. Actually, one person in my team in particular, Sarah, who works with me every day, and I speak to her every day when we don't work, she actually often says to me, you and Kim as well, you're never satisfied. You never celebrate what your achievements are, and you're never satisfied. You're never done. And I think, no, I'm not. And that's a blessing and a curse. A lot of time thinking, what am I looking for?
Yes.
What is it that I am hoping to achieve? Who knows? I don't know. I haven't got the answer for that yet.
No, you are a self-confessed workaholic, and I know that for the last 14 years you've been working 6 to 7 days a week because of your love for what you do. But you are in fact a granny now.
I am. I'm a nan.
A nan. Well, nan.
I'm a nan.
Yeah, I'm a nan. I'm a papa, which I love. Since being a nan, we've spoken of this. Has that changed your working life at all, or has it changed the balance?
Yeah, it has a little bit, because when Connor and Charlotte were having Hugo, I announced that I was going to have Fridays off to look after the baby from, I think he was a couple of weeks old when I first had him on a Friday, and he's 18 months old now. So I've had him on a Friday for 18 months, and that has been hard. I didn't realise when I announced this, when I did this big announcement, I'm going to have a Friday off and I'm going to look after this baby on a Friday. And I love it. And we have a great Friday and we go swimming, and it's fab, but it is hard not to be in that office on what I consider a working day. Right. So I still email in and they still email me, and I probably will phone them a couple of times in nap time. But yeah, it's difficult, but I do love it. I'm very torn. I am, because I feel like I should be at work, but I'm loving spending time with Hugo as well. So
before we go on to the spill the tea questions, I just want to talk to you about something that has completely blown me away, and I want to talk to you about this. This is it not, your permanent makeup, colour correction and skin compass?
yes. Yes, it's also known as the colour compass.
Yes, the colour compass. This, O'Hara, is a bloody clever device. And I love this. Everybody should have one of these. And I would like you, for the sake of being informative and telling our viewers what it's all about, I would just like you to run through how this works and what it does for us, please.
Okay. Well, I loved your message when you got yours, because you said to me, "Shit, O'Hara. Bitch, you clever bugger."
Bitch, you did. You invented the colour wheel. You really did.
I love that. So it was about a year ago that I realised that the artist colour wheel that we all train with and we all use and we send it out in our kits, about a third of it was actually wrong and irrelevant to permanent makeup and microblading. So I've told you before, but I had a support group. I've got an online support group for artists, and one of them was saying, "Why have my clients' brows gone grey? I used this colour, which was quite a greeny, ashy base colour, very cool, and my client is warm. She's got really, really red cheeks." And I thought, that doesn't mean she's warm. That means she's cool, because we see in permanent makeup terms vascular activity and redness in the skin as blue or grey. So she said to me outright, and actually now she's typing in capital letters, so I'm assuming she's shouting at me. No, because if you look at the colour wheel, opposite red on the colour wheel is green. And I thought, I can't argue with that. It's true, but it's wrong. So I thought we need to have something that is totally for permanent makeup and microblading. And for me, the colour issues were both colour correction and skin issues. So we did it double-sided. So basically, if you've got someone on the colour correction side, if you've got someone with violet, purple brows, it tells you to add yellow, or you need to use a yellow-based pigment to neutralise that purple. If you've got someone with pink brows, it's going to tell you to add green on the other side for the correction. So basically all you're looking for is it a skin concern? So freckles, dry skin, oily skin, or is it a colour correction where you're looking at a colour that's already in their brow, whether it's orange, grey, blue, multicoloured, and it will tell you what to do. And it's totally for all pigment ranges, because it's colour theory. It's just colour theory. It's not about a set range.
Well, this is why I said to you, this is going to, for me and my teaching, this is going to replace the colour wheel. We've spoken about this, I think, many times, and you know how succinct and broad the scope of my colour theory training is. And
orange.
It consists of one word, orange, and orange is my answer to nearly everything. What I love about it is. And what I love about this is that the skin colour compass, you can quite clearly see that orange is the answer to nearly everything. And by the same token, on the colour correction compass, you can see that brown is the answer that we're looking for.
Well, that's what we're trying to achieve. We're only trying to achieve brown. I say that in my colour classes a lot. We're making it too complicated for brows. All we want to do is make brown. And when you're a kid and you're mixing all your paints together and you end up with brown, you're thinking, oh, now I've got brown. But well, actually, as permanent makeup artists for brows, that's all we want to do is have a brown. So simple as that.
Yes, I actually love this. I think that, like I said before, I think for me, this is going to be a great device, a great little tool to use, not only for people to teach with, but also as a little bit of a security thing, a security blanket that you can go back to and use as a resource to help you. Very clever, O'Hara. Very, very
Thank you very much. Because also, just to say, Scott, that people on social media, we were talking about this the other day, but people on social media saying, this is my client, what colour would I use, and things like that. It's scary. It makes me sad that people are so terrified to choose a colour pigment for their client when they're brave enough to tattoo someone's face. It's the colour bit which is the tricky part, and that's sad.
Yes, okay. The other thing I want to say, just before we put the colour compass down, and you touched on it lightly a moment ago, is that it's not brand specific. So on here, it isn't necessarily promoting your personal brand. You can use this little tool with any brand that you use, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Any pigment brand.
Yeah, great. I just wanted to make that point. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll get to some questions that I want to ask you. I'm going to start with your PMU journey. Give me succinctly the first 5 steps that brought you into the PMU industry. So kind of like from school. What were the first 5 steps?
From school?
Well, you know, when you left school, what were the 5 steps?
I wanted to do something in the cosmetic industry. I've always been interested in it. And actually, my dad said to me, my dad plays a huge part in this story, actually, good and bad. My dad said to me, oh, don't do that. Do something a bit different. And I thought, oh, all right then. So I went and I got a job in an office for social services. And I worked in the fostering and adoption team in social services. And I loved it. I loved that I was their first YTS person, and they loved me, and I organised them and what have you, and that was fine. But I still had this kind of love for cosmetic and being creative. So I went, when Connor was born, actually, I sent myself to evening school to do some courses on some beauty therapy. And I loved that. And I went in and out of that for a few years. And then I got a job as a well-being manager. So I was running 2 spas. Right. And I liked that. And I met lots of people who are my lifelong friends now that I stay in touch with, who were my beauty therapists there. But I was working a lot of hours for absolutely pittance. Right. And I then got divorced. I had 2 children, 4 and 8, got divorced and thought, okay, I am on my own with 2 children, and I had my divorce settlement, and my dad said to me, my dad again, you need to put that away, don't spend that, you need to put that away in the bank and keep that. And I thought, actually, Dad, I think you're wrong, because I need to invest in myself. So I told him a big fat fib and told him that my course for permanent makeup was £900, when really I think it was edging toward 15,000. And he just went wild at that.
Just a little fib, a little
yeah,
one.
It's just like a little one. I mean, I was 28, I wasn't a child, right. But I did my permanent makeup, and I remember sitting in my training thinking, you have no choice but to make this work. Right. And I think it was probably the turning point for me, because I found that there was 8 people in my class. There was, it's quite a big class. And actually, of those 8 people, I felt like I was doing the best, I was definitely one of the best in the class. Right. And for me, that was the first time that had ever happened. Right. I was never the best at anything at school, right. But I was never really interested in it at school. So, and I've never kind of looked back, really. Right. Yes, I've put a lot of hours in, and I love it. But that's me for the last 15 years. So,
what continues to inspire you to work in the industry? Because I can see how you got there, and that's that. What continues to put fire in your belly?
This has been the only thing probably in my whole life that has kept my attention for this long. Right. So I think it's the fast pace of our industry. It's always moving forward. When I look at it now compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's like a totally different beast. Yes. It's totally different. And I like that. I think it makes me want to improve myself and the things I do. So my treatments, I think that I improve every 30 treatments I do. I think, oh, I've improved.
Yeah.
And I'm still thinking that now after 15 years. So I love that. I love that and I remember when I first started, I thought to myself, I can't wait to get to a point where I'm just doing a treatment. I haven't got to think about every single process. And I think it probably took me a good 2 years to get to that. But now I can have a conversation with my client while I'm tattooing them. And I love that. I love the whole people aspect.
Oh, that's really interesting, because my clients aren't allowed to speak to me when I'm working. No.
If my clients don't speak, I'm actually just checking. I'm starting to check that they're still breathing.
I like to work with headphones, so I'm usually, if I'm not listening to a book, I've got classical music or something playing in the background, yes, and they have to put their hand up if they want to talk to me.
Oh my gosh, you're far more of a headmaster then than I would.
Totally. If you had unlimited resources and could open a clinic and live and work full or part-time anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Well, I went to Antigua, not yesterday at all, last year. It wasn't yesterday, I wish it was. Went to Antigua last year, and do you know what? I think that's my happy place. It was like the people were so friendly. So I probably would have a few satellite clinics dotted around. If money was no object, one in America, maybe one in Italy, and maybe a base in Antigua.
I've never been. It must be beautiful.
And I messaged you from there, a video message saying, Scott, the houses are so cheap here. We need to move here and start a clinic. You were so on board with it for at least a week.
I was totally excited. I think we actually agreed to share somewhere, didn't we? That we could sort of like timeshare. Yeah. Right. If you had unlimited budget, what innovation would you want to create for our industry?
I think that's a tricky one, because I think of things like that all the time, where I'll go into work and I'll go in the office and say, I've had the most amazing idea, and everyone's like, oh God, here she goes. But I think I probably would have, maybe in the middle of the country, although I don't necessarily want to live in the middle of the country, of our country, but I would probably have the ultimate micropigmentation centre. It's almost like when you train people, I don't really want to let them go. I want to say, come and work for me. So the ultimate, where everyone can work for themselves potentially, but have the ultimate micropigmentation centre where we've got the best of people working there, offering the best treatments. And I think that would be great, because I ultimately think doing what we do is very lonely.
It is lonely.
I think you're rarely in a clinic where someone else that does what you do. And I'm very lucky, because I work in our clinic. We've got nurses, doctors, surgeons, practitioners. Kim is an amazing businesswoman, and I've got their input all the time, and I can ask them things all the time. I would probably hate it if I was working in a clinic on my own. Because sometimes things you just want to go over things with people sometimes and just say, this is what my thoughts are. Did I do the right thing?
Yes, it's interesting. CJ, the last time CJ got a tattoo, I went with him. I went in with him and sat for a while, and then I went off and did my own thing. And there were about 6 artists. That kind of bouncing off each other, the energy that they shared, I thought, God, that must be awesome to have that feed off that kind of creative energy. What do you think our industry is going to look like in 10 years' time?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like we've kind of gone from specialising in permanent makeup as a whole to then kind of being a little bit more diverse, doing aesthetics and injectables and other treatments, because half of me thinks just because we can, and half of me thinks it's because we love kind of needles and things like that. And you do injectables, I don't do injectables. And the other part, I wonder if it will go back to being that we'll specialise in things. I'm starting to see people maybe specialise in just eyeliner or just lips. And that has never really been a thing, where people think, do you know what, I don't want to train in eyebrows, I don't want to train in eyeliner, I just want to train in lips. Dentists coming and training, just want to do lips, because I'm doing their fillers, I'm doing their teeth, my expertise is the mouth area, and I think that's great. So I wonder if it will just be that people are specialising in maybe one body area. I don't know.
No. I think that's a really good point, and I think especially in the last 2 years, we now see when you think of eyeliner, a certain type of eyeliner, you think of a certain type of artist who's known for that particular eyeliner.
Yeah.
There's a particular type of brow, you think of another particular type of artist.
I know.
It's interesting for me because I've never wanted to specialize in one area. I wanted to be extremely good at all of them, but my own version of those.
Yeah.
So for me, and as you said earlier, I do injectables, so I'm interested in transformation. That's what interests me.
Yeah.
And the medium with which I get there, I'm happy with several. Okay, who is your PMU hero or heroine, and why?
I've got a few. So I would say Bridget Softly, and I bumped into her on a flight a couple of years ago to Bologna in Italy. We were going to a show there, and she was sat in the seat in front of me. So I poked her through the gap in the seat, and we had a conversation the whole way there. So I think she saw something in me quite early on, and I think she gave me that confidence to try, I think. And then I'd say Taryn Darling from Vegas, because I think I would just like a very small part of that kick-ass confidence that she has got. If I could have that kind of rah, I think I'd be quite dangerous.
Right.
And I like that.
Right, okay.
PMU hero, I think would have to be you.
Oh, shut up.
Honestly, I'm not blowing smoke up your backside. I honestly think I sit there and I look at you working at your kitchen table where you've got mounds of practice pads, and the repetition is like madness. Yes. But I think you have to have that if you are trying to perfect something. Yeah. And I think it's actually quite a beautiful thing to watch your repetition to get to what you class as your perfection. And I'm astounded by it every time I see it. I love it.
Oh,
so, yeah, I love it.
You're very sweet to me. That's your journey. I want to talk to you now about your clinic and client work. Things don't always go as expected, as we know. And this is really for when people come newly into the industry, you have to face all kinds of things when you're dealing with the general public. Things don't always go as expected. Have you ever had a time when you didn't meet client expectations? If you did, tell me what happened and how you turned that situation around.
Okay. I think that I realise now that I'm never going to meet 100% of people's expectations. Doesn't make it any easier when you don't.
Right.
And now I consult within an inch of my life, because I've got forms just for consultations, and I give them to my students as well, because I think that if it's written down when they come in for their treatments, you can look back at what was said, and they're extra to the consent forms. I think it's really important that you and your client are on the same page. Yeah. So you have to be singing from the same hymn sheet, wanting the same thing, and that's hard to get to, because they're orally telling you what they want. Sometimes people bring pictures, and I think that's handy. This is what I love. This is what I hate. Love that. Yeah. Helps if they're your pictures that you've actually tattooed that they bring in, but that's not always the case. And the one time that I think, oh my gosh, I had a client come in, and I was removing her brow. So I spent probably 6 months, maybe more, removing her eyebrows that she had already had done elsewhere. She'd had them microbladed, and we removed them. Then it comes to the point, we're very excited, both of us, because we're going to be putting them back on. So I put them back on, and I just totally misjudged the damage that probably the microblading had done to the underneath layers of her skin. So I'm tattooing hair strokes in her skin, looks fine. When she comes back for her retouch, total migration of that.
No.
And I am not a heavy-handed tattooist, but horrible. Wow. Luckily, because I'd spent so long with her removing them the first time, we had a very good relationship, and I had to just remove them again. So we removed them again. We've put them back on again. I was much more cautious. In actual fact, I was so cautious that I didn't want to have this process again, and I wanted her to have the best brows. Right. I tattooed 3 hair strokes in one of her brows and sent her away so that they healed, because I don't know if that was I didn't meet her expectation. Well, I didn't meet her expectations, but I certainly didn't meet mine either. So she came back in, they'd healed lovely. So we tattooed the rest of her brows, and she's thrilled with them. But you know, what could have been maybe a 6-month process turned out to be maybe, I don't know, 16-month process, maybe slightly less. Yeah. So it's lovely to see her. We've got a great relationship now. But
were you not tempted to do an ombre brow rather than a hair-stroke brow? She didn't want
that. I would have loved to have done an ombre brow, but she didn't want that. And now, this wasn't even that long ago. So all a learning curve. So now when people come in, I will say to them, do you know what? Let's do an ombre brow. Or I'm doing 3 hair strokes on you and I'm sending you out to heal, because if you are insistent on having hair strokes, I want to see how they're healing.
How has a client most spectacularly surprised you?
The ultimate surprise is I joined a gym in January, as you know, and I noticed a woman in the corner, and it was so obvious. She was literally, if she could have covered herself up any more, she would have. She was almost in a corner trying to hide, getting her gym gear on or a swimsuit on, and she happened, just as a coincidence, to come into my clinic about 2 or 3 weeks later as a client, and she said that she'd had breast cancer. She wanted she'd had a reconstruction done, and she wanted to have some areola tattoos done. And I didn't sort of say to her, "You're from my gym." I didn't say that because I didn't feel it was really my place to do so. But next time I was in the changing room, I saw her probably maybe about 6 or 8 weeks later after that, and she literally whipped her towel away, and not only was she confident, she was saying to her group of friends, "Look at my new boobs." And I literally must have swam my length of that pool that night with the biggest grin on my face. She still didn't recognise me. I must look different, without I do think I do look different without my glasses on, and I don't think people put you in the same place, do they? Don't recognise you in different places. So, but that was probably the time that I felt most surprised by a client. She was a different person, showing everybody in the changing room her boobs, and I thought,
awesome.
Yeah,
that's absolutely awesome. Tell me about a time a challenging time that you just really wanted to throw the towel in. Have you ever had a situation where you're like, "Oh my good God"?
Yeah, lots. I think I'm the epitome of the PMU roller coaster. I am either absolutely on a high and skipping out of my clinic, or I'm crawling out thinking, "Oh my God, I'm opening a cafe." There is no in between, really. So I think it's natural to want to throw the towel in at times and think, "Oh, there must be an easier thing to do," because we're going back to the expectations again. You're trying to meet expectations of your client all the time, and that's the hardest thing to do. And actually you don't just want to meet these expectations, you want to exceed them. So when you don't feel you've done that and people panic, they're part of the consultation process, but their husbands might not be, so they go home with these new eyebrows or these lips that are swollen, and their husband goes, "Oh my gosh, that looks awful." But it's not makeup, and I say that to people when we're consulting, when it's not makeup, we're tattooing it, so it needs to heal, it needs to settle down, the swelling needs to go down. But I absolutely hate it, and I haven't had it for a while, touch wood, when people say, "I'm just disappointed," and I hate that. I'd rather people got angry, because I feel you've got something to work with. When someone's disappointed, it's like, what can you do about that? That's not what you set out to do. And I don't believe any tattooist sets out to disappoint someone, or any practitioner sets out to disappoint someone. So I think that's hard. And definitely one point in my career where I was working at the NEC in Birmingham, so we'd done a couple of shows, and one of my models, so that people could just turn up on the day and be tattooed so other people could watch, messaged me, and she's I think she was trying to, I don't know what the word would be. I don't think she was being as honest with me as she probably could have been, I'll say that. And she just said she didn't like her brows, and I was mortified because she's halfway up the country from the NEC. I'm down here, and I'd never had anyone actually physically say to me they didn't like them. I probably had about 6 weeks no sleep at all, thinking about these brows, and I'm someone that if I feel that there is an issue, I have to face it. I can't ignore it because it will eat me away. So I called her a couple of times, no answer. She did pick up about 6 weeks later, and she was like, "Oh no, I love them now, Naomi." And I thought, do you know what? You could have called me and told me, because I've literally had sleepless nights for 6 weeks.
Yes.
And I think there is a point in your early career doing this where you think, is that worth it?
Yes.
Is the 6 weeks sleepless nights? And I know people that have that every time they do a client, because they're thinking about, okay, I've got to wait 4 to 6 weeks before I see them again to see what the healed result is.
Okay, so the next section that I'm going to question you on is we've done your journey, we've done your client and work life. And I just want to talk to you about current, your life currently. How have you coped generally with lockdown?
Not well, I don't think. I won't lie to you. I've kind of imagined myself at times like that polar bear at the zoo that's kind of rocking backwards and forwards and just hitting its head on the wall. I really have. It's been really tough. I've really tried hard to focus on things that I've been saying I don't get time to do that. And maybe I've realised it's not that I don't have time to do it, I just don't have the motivation. So it's probably not that important to me. And I have got my paints back out and done a bit of painting, which I've always enjoyed.
So why has it been tough for you? Is it the fact that you're being constrained?
I think the initial blow was being labelled as a non-essential worker. How rude.
You see, that's interesting. Isn't that interesting? Because I think of myself as a private healthcare professional. And it was actually Dr. Adam Radford who pointed that out to me. He said, Scott, wait, your private healthcare.
Is that because you do injectables? Because actually, if not, then I'm taking that label myself. Because
well, I think I have to be honest with you. I think that it can apply to PMU and paramedic PMU as much as it can to injectables, because
it's interesting you say that.
It's affecting mental health.
Exactly. I read on the JCCP that actually, as practitioners, I like that word because it doesn't say doctor, because obviously I'm not a doctor or a nurse, and I know people that certainly do what we do that are, but that you have to be the person to ascertain whether this is a medical procedure, because is it affecting their mental health? And for me, someone who is about to embark on chemotherapy and is going to lose their brow, someone who's been through breast reconstruction and wants their areola back on, someone who's just developing alopecia and is losing their hair and their eyebrows and their eyelashes and feels like maybe they're losing some of their identity, that is probably not a cosmetic procedure, but I assume medical label or title that maybe that wouldn't be the case, but I'm taking that.
Well, do you know what, Naomi, that's really interesting, because I actually think that even if you've got a client in front of you who has no issues with their self-image, or they're more than happy with how they look and everything's okay, but they're going to get their eyebrows done because they want, it's an elective procedure and they're having a trending fashion treatment procedure, whatever you want to call it, and then after they've had the procedure, they feel absolutely thrilled with their result. They feel wonderful about themselves. As far as I'm concerned, that's affected in a positive way their mental health. Mental health is not, it's not like a pejorative term. We've all got mental health. It's, whether it's good or bad or normal or neutral, we've all got it. Mental health is something like general health. We all have that. So if you're doing someone's brows or lips or eyes and they feel better about themselves afterwards, you've affected their mental health.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Okay. What is the first thing you're going to do after lockdown is lifted?
Oh, I'm going to see my hairdresser for a start. I have missed her. I hate having my hair done. I feel it's a waste of a day, but I am desperate. I was due to go and have it done before we were on the lockdown, and I just think, you know, and then someone like yourself says, I want to interview you. You're like, great, after 12 weeks of lockdown, when I'm in my most natural state, I'm basically raw here, and you are wanting to interview me. Thanks for that, friend.
Listen, I got to tell you, you look fantastic. I mean, I think this is the best you've looked since I've known you. How much weight have you lost? You look fantastic.
About 2.5 stone now.
Well, good on you, girl. You look absolutely.
Thank you. I do feel good. I feel really, really good about myself. I do. Then I'm going to party. I need to party, and I wouldn't class myself as a party animal, but I need to go out with my friends,
right,
and hug them and chat to them and just be. Because I've really missed it. I think there is a plan on the horizon to go to Marbella for a very long weekend.
I think a lot of people are going to be doing that.
Yeah, it's going to be very busy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Okay, so look, you just won £10 million on the lottery, okay?
Fantastic.
What is the first thing you would do with your 10 million, and would you continue to work?
I think after my last question, or the question before about me hitting my head on the wall throughout lockdown, I think it's clear that I have to work. I would just literally do my Areola Angels. I'd expand Areola Angels. It would be more of a scar camouflage, burns, areola I love doing. And I'd just do it as a charity. I probably would just do it as a charity, because I love doing what I do, and I love the whole people say online, pay with a smile, and I love that.
Yes.
And that's really, I think, what I am about. I've got a mortgage, so I can't do that. But if I won 10 million on the lottery, that is exactly what I'd do.
Okay.
Totally.
So the first thing you would do would be to set up the Areola Angels as a charity. So would you work that?
I just developed that. I would develop that, and I probably would go to places, you know, maybe take it worldwide. So go and train nurses in hospitals and do treatments in different countries. And I love training the nurses here. I go to the Royal Marsden Hospital a few times a year, and they have to have updates and things, which I do, and I love that. And I see their clients, and they have clients from all over the world, Dubai, everywhere. Come to them. They're a great hospital, and I just love that. So I probably would go to India and Africa and teach the nurses there to do that, and they can carry it on.
Wow, awesome. If you were I know this is bizarre, but this is the fun part of what I get to do. So if you were a superhero or a super villain, who would you be?
I would be Mystique from XMen. So she's a bit sassy, and she's a shapeshifter. So she's able to mimic the appearance and the voice of anyone she comes across or she chooses. I don't know if you know who she is. She's got blue skin, yellow eyes, and she changes and adapts to her surroundings.
And she's also very interesting, O'Hara. She is in fact neither one or the other, or both. She's not quite a villain, and she's not quite a hero.
No.
She sort of morphs in between the two.
Yeah, very me.
Complicated character, really. Yeah, that's interesting. A complicated character who can parrot and mirror what's going on around her. I'm going to remember that, girl.
Yeah, and I think that is probably me, actually, to a T. I think I do kind of morph a little bit into my surroundings a little bit, depending where I am.
Interesting. What was the last present you got for somebody?
The last present I got for somebody. So my sister and I have always been mad Bros fans since we were, like, before we were in our teens. I think my sister must have been about 7, and I'm 3 years older than her. So we went to the Mayflower. My mum took us to the Mayflower Theatre in Southampton to watch Bros when they were in the 80s. And my brother called me and said, Matt Goss is coming to the Aegeus Bowl. and doing like a really small, intimate 200 people show. And I got straight on there and I ordered tickets. And my sister was coming to visit me that day, so I slid my phone across to her to show her my receipts that I bought, and she read it and she was sort of, "Oh, you lucky thing." And you had to put your name on the ticket, so I flicked across to the other side and her name was on the other ticket, and she was like, "Ah!" She went wild. And we don't tend to go out a lot, my sister and I, or we haven't been out a lot as adults. And it was a really nice evening. We just, my dad even took us and picked us up. It was like we were teenagers again. Yeah,
teenagers, yeah.
It really was.
Was he good?
So that was a really good evening. So I loved being able to do that for her.
Was he good?
Yeah, he really was. He's in Vegas. I don't know if you know. So he lives in Vegas. So he brought his Vegas show down, and I bought us the meet and greet tickets. So after the show, we got to meet him, and my sister was so starstruck. So I had a photo done with him, and then it was my sister's turn, and all my sister could say was, "We're sisters." That's all that came out of her mouth. Like, money well spent.
Okay, so that was the last present you got for someone. What was the last present someone got for you?
Okay, so that has changed because it was my birthday on Monday,
right.
And I got some lovely things. So I got a pizza oven. Built for me. Yeah, I don't like pizza, but my youngest son, he works in the construction industry, and now he's coming across all of these kind of people that can do things. I keep getting alarms put on my house, or "Mum, do you want this fitted?" I'm like, "No, not really," but it happened. So I've had a pizza oven built. He particularly likes pizza, so I think it may have been a present more for him. And I got some lovely tan wedges from Russell and Bromley from them as well for my birthday.
Nice.
So, yeah. Oh, and the last thing I actually got was a weighted hula hoop.
A weighted hula hoop?
So like a hula hoop, but it's weighted. So you are building your core muscles up.
Okay.
But I tell you what, my ribs are bruised like nothing else.
Seriously?
They're so bruised. Apparently you get past that.
I've got the feeling we're going to end up maybe doing another one of these, and I would like to start the next session that we do, the next interview, with a demonstration, in fact, of your hula hooping skills.
Do you know what? I don't mind, because I'm particularly good at this hula hooping, Scott.
I have no doubt.
I actually think it's going to be my next thing. I might have to buy 2 hula hoops. So I can have one going around my waist and one up on my arm.
You flash bugger. What's the best present you've ever had in your life?
I've had some kind of strange presents. I like odd things. I like unusual things. So I've had a paddy diving course bought for me.
Awesome.
Half a horse. Things like that. So random things. I like random things, but not always big things.
Yeah, funny enough, my best present I've ever had, there are 2, and the best present I ever had, I can't really decide which is the best out of the 2, but one was a horse.
Really?
And I was about 10, 11, and my cousin, I've got a cousin who's like my sister, my aunt and uncle bought me a horse. If you could learn any language in the world, which language would you learn and why?
Probably something like Japanese or something like that. I love languages. I loved doing languages when I was at school. So I really like that. And I think that with selling our pigments to other countries, we've had to do a little bit of, only Google Translate, but I'm loving seeing it. It's amazing what you pick up very quickly when you're doing that. So I love the Italian language. I love Japanese. I love accents as well. I just, all of that.
If you were stuck, my final question for you, if you were stuck on a desert island, O'Hara, you had all the food and shelter that you needed, and water, everything you needed, but what 3 personal items could you not do without?
This is a tricky one, but I have said tweezers.
Right.
I hate random hairs, and I can feel them coming through at times, and that I can't handle. I've also watched yeah, bugger. I've also watched Castaway, and he got a wobbly tooth there, and I think tweezers could be handy for that.
Okay.
I think tweezers would be handy, so I'm going to say tweezers. My phone, I'm hoping that if I've got all the shelter and food I've got a charging point.
Right.
Because I literally cannot be without my phone.
Right.
And then I'm going to say, although I know they're not my personal items, The Rock or Jason Momoa, because I feel after a few weeks of being on an island, they so would be my personal items.
Right. I think you're absolutely right. They'd be indispensable personal items. Good choice. You do get to ask me 3 questions of your own. So
I do.
You do.
Let me get them, because I wanted them to hand. It was hard to think of some questions for you, because and only 3, because I wanted to ask more. But what do you, Scott, think the best skill to have is as a PMU artist?
Patience.
What is the best skill? Patience.
Patience. You have to be patient. Skill takes time.
Yeah.
Practice takes time. Perfect procedures, or perfecting, I should say, procedures takes time. And you have to have patience, and I've had to learn that. And I have. And last, but certainly not least, you have to have patience with clients. So for me, if you're the sort of person that can't engage that, you're going to have a challenge in this industry, because it takes time to learn, it takes time to perfect your skill, it takes time to achieve, it takes time to build a business. You have to have a degree of patience. So that's my answer.
Good one. I love it.
Good.
What is it that drives you?
What drives me? Achievement. I like to set myself goals, and I like to achieve goals. I suppose to a degree, accolade. I like to be able to achieve something and have someone I respect give me a pat on the back. Somebody who matters, you know. I like to learn, so I like to. If I'm going to be good at something, I have to be. If I'm going to learn something, I have to be really good at it. And if I'm not as good as I think I should be, I'll bin it, and I'll stop doing it. Yeah. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Can't be the best. You won't do it at all.
I'm not doing it. I'm off. Fuck 'em.
Then finally,
fuck 'em.
What would you be doing if you weren't doing this?
I'd be a writer.
Yeah, and you'd be good at that. I love reading. I love reading what you write. I do have to have a thesaurus next to me when I'm reading it, but yeah, I love it.
My dad's got a couple of published books. He's very into writing, and I've always been into literature and writing and expressing through words and language, which I love words and language. So, and also I'm quite insular, and I know people are going to be amazed when I say this, and they usually are. You know, I meet people and they think I'm very, very outgoing and I'm a party boy, and you know, I'm kind of I'm happy in a social. I am really not at all. I'm happiest on my own, and reading a book or writing something, and I like that kind of peace. You know, I like, rather than party, I'm a peace guy. You know, peace and quiet guy. So yeah, if I wasn't doing PMU and there was no monetary significance or economic significance involved, then I would spend my time reading and writing, definitely.
I love the way you plan out, or it seems that you've planned out what you write. So even if it's just telling the process of a brow, it's like a whole story. Yes. And I love that.
Well, listen, Naomi O'Hara, thank you so much for spending this time. I'm sure that I'm going to be knocking on your door again. What I was going to ask you, what I thought might be a good idea, babe, was if I'm going to set up a different kind of interview that's going to be more specific to colour theory.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, rather than a sort of we'll put it out there on Instagram and on Facebook if you're happy to do that. But also I thought maybe we could do something together that can be used as a teaching tool that you could put on your website, that I could put on my website, and also a detailed explanation of how to use the tool with examples before and afters, that kind of, I don't know, something along those lines. And also using your color rulers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because those two tools work beautifully together, and I'm going to put us a damn sight closer to making an educated guess or an educated estimate of what our result is going to be like.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, you're an angel. Thank you very much.
Love you. Bye.
Bye, babe. Bye, darling.